Hello, and welcome to the Manifest podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that I know that this topic is going to resonate with so many of you. And then secondly, I know in my heart that there are going to be actionable steps that you're going to take away from what I share today that could potentially help you as you move into a next chapter of your life. And I know that many of you out there are going through different transformative phases, whether you have been through a divorce or a healing journey or a career change or you're an empty nester or whatever it is. I'm here to support you through that journey. And so before we dive in today, I want to tell you about something that is super exciting that I've got going on, something that only a few people know about, but behind the scenes, it is really exciting. It's called the Authoress Academy. And so if you've ever been told that you should write a book, this group is for you. It's for women that are ready to turn their lived experience into ideas and voice something that's real. So I want to help you to write that book, to publish that book, and to share your ideas with the world. So inside the group, you'll find writing prompts and a community of incredible women sharing their work and building momentum. There's guidance on shaping your ideas into something more clear and cohesive. And there's also support to stay consistent and actually finish what you start. And the best part is that to enter into this group, it's completely free. There is a premium tier as well if you want to upgrade. But just get your foot in the door, check it out, connect with everyone, share what you're going through. It is the most incredibly inspiring community. So I will link that up in the description of this podcast. It's hosted on School. It's called Authoress Academy. Okay, so today's episode is also a Substack essay, a personal Substack essay that I've shared on there. If you're not following me over on Substack, go to sarahprout.substack.com. So this is all about the night that I learned how to abandon myself. And I don't say that lightly. It was a quiet moment, a missed arrival, and the story I built about my worth. And come to think of it, I don't think that I've ever told this story before publicly. So this is a little emotional, but it's also extremely valuable because I know that there are so many people that will resonate with this. So I was 19, standing in a room full of my own artwork. I'd been planning for months to have my very first exhibition of my art pieces at the Frame Gallery where I was working. I worked there every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it was in Smith Street, Collingwood, which is one of the most iconic streets in Melbourne, full of artists and musicians and writers. And every Sunday I was in there by myself. I was stapling staples into the backs of frames. I was the gallery curator for people that would host their work on the show. And I was fortunate enough to say to the owner, I would love to have an exhibition. And so he cut me a deal where I would give him a third of all of the proceeds and he would give me a discount on the framing. So I worked for months. And so my art was hanging on the wall under very soft lighting and it was all meticulously curated. And like the work is pretty embarrassing now when I look back on it. Some of it anyway, not all of it. But I really worked hard. And because I didn't have money for materials, I used to go to secondhand stores or thrift stores and buy, there was a trend back in probably the 80s of people to put their posters on corkboard or on like a wood chip backing. And so I would buy these solid poster boards for, I don't know, under $5 and I would sand them back. And that would be my canvas when I couldn't afford a big canvas. And it worked. And so this was the night. People moved slowly from piece to piece, tilting their heads and stepping closer, whispering thoughts that I couldn't quite hear, or asking me, well, what does this mean, Sarah? And there was a quiet hum in the space. It was the kind that comes when something vulnerable is being witnessed. And I didn't truly understand the magnitude of that at the time. And I titled the show Dream of the Chrysalis. It was about inner transformation, and I was living it in real time. So the featured piece of artwork that I put on the invitation was actually this weird abstract butterfly creature emerging from a cocoon. And so the good news was that 2/3 of the show sold even before opening day. So that was amazing. And keep in mind, I was raised by artists, and I spent a lot of time in studios and in galleries and in that kind of exhibition space. So I was very familiar with it from pretty much the time I was born, seeing that red sold sticker at the base just under the title. What's interesting, and a little side note here, is that a woman sent me an email a couple of years ago that actually bought one of the pieces, and she still has it in her art collection in Fitzroy, Australia. And so that was amazing, because this was all the way back in 1999. So back to the art show, come with me back into my time machine. It should have felt like a beginning, but instead I kept looking at the door. I was waiting. There was one person I wanted to walk through those doors, one person that I had already imagined standing beside me, holding my hand or hand on my back, saying nothing but silently confirming, "This is amazing, Sarah." And he said he would come, but he didn't. So I kept on, I don't even think I had a phone back then. This was 1999. I think it was later that year I got my very first mobile phone, which definitely ages me. But no one else in the room knew that something inside me had just shifted. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, for whatever reason, spending the last month by myself here in Las Vegas, I've only spent a little bit of time with the kids, and John's still in Green Bay. I've been having some very visceral flashbacks. I've been having phone calls with my mom saying, "Oh my gosh, I remember this," with like razor sharp specificity. So the other night I was transported back to the stretchiness of the purple bodycon dress that I was wearing on the night of this exhibition back in 1999. I remember I didn't have much money, and I found this dress. It was like $15, and I was, 19 years old, and it was like the perfect fancy kind of cocktail dress that would be appropriate for the show. It kind of matched the colors. They're very much my colors. They've always been my colors. And I've purchased this kind of dress actually a few times now. I remember the Mind Valley talk that I did. I was wearing a purple kind of stretchy dress as well. So there must be something to it. I didn't truly piece it together that it was significant for me until right now in this moment. So the belief shaping, though, at the time, it wasn't loud. There was no scene or visible upset, no tears, or no dramatic unraveling. It was just a quiet, almost imperceptible decision that this means that I'm not important in some way. And I remember, and I didn't write this in the article, so this is the benefit of listening to the podcast. You get the extra bits as well. I remember there was this guy that was very famous on the streets of Fitzroy. His name was Grant McCracken. If you Google him, Grant McCracken Fitzroy, and read his poetry, he was a wild and eccentric character, and he was very well known in the community for reading poetry from like this pizza box that he made and covered with tinfoil. So he was a brilliant man. He used to come and visit me actually every Sunday. He would be one of the only people that would come in and chat with me for hours, and he was a little bit left of center. Let's just put it that way. He's a little bit out of his tree. And he loved beer. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago. I just found out about that. But he was a local Fitzroy icon. And I was fortunate enough to know him. And he came to the exhibition opening that night. And he created a poem from all of the titles of my pieces. And so that definitely attracted and appealed to the crowd, this performance artist that was asking nothing of me but was showing up for me at that time. Meanwhile, when he was doing that, I was still in my head, where is this guy? Where is my boyfriend? And I didn't have the language for it at the time, just being niceness, but I can see it now with uncomfortable clarity. The moment I stopped standing in my own worth and started looking for it somewhere else. Because there I was in this moment, worth celebrating. I'd worked so hard to create this show. My family were there, my sister, my brother, my friends, the press. It wasn't just that he didn't show up. It was what I made it mean. And that was that I wasn't important enough. I was not worthy of being chosen or witnessed or celebrated. And just keep in mind, as I'm saying this, and this was the same place that I met my first ex-husband, and this isn't a dig at him. Lord knows I've spent way too many years sharing the details of our very toxic, incompatible marriage. And we're cool with each other now, which is great. There's hope. There's hope for us all if me and that man can be amicable, which we can. I mean, we share 2 beautiful children together. They're now adults. And, we kind of check in on each other once in a while. But this isn't about him. This was more of a projection and what I didn't realize, because what I didn't realize that this moment in the gallery in July 1999, something very subtle took root. It's the habit of looking outward for confirmation, of measuring my value by who stayed or who left or who showed up or who didn't. And I mean, this is a key piece, and so many of you, I'm sure, can relate to this, that I was abandoning myself in small, socially acceptable ways that didn't look like abandonment at all. And yes, I can chalk this up to immaturity because I was only 19 years old and people were buying my paintings, which was amazing, and champagne was flowing. And I remember printing the flyers and invitations at the local library and inviting the press and family and friends. And of course, my boyfriend, he was 31 and I was 19 at the time. So an important side note here is that the reason he didn't show up is because he had to take care of his 18-month-old son. However, he'd known about this for months and a phone call would have been nice. But like I said, I didn't have a mobile phone back then, so what was he going to do? And so this night wasn't really about him, my ex, at all. It revealed me. It revealed me to me. It showed me the exact place where I was still willing to hand my worth to someone else and ask them to hold it for me. And this wasn't an isolated event. This happened, and I might write about more events if you want me to. If you write in the comments and share this or send me a DM, write it on my comments on Substack if you want me to write more about this, because trust me, I have a lifetime worth of material to share here. But this is the part that no one really talks about. We think that pain comes from being rejected. I've had manuscripts rejected before. But the deeper wound is what we do next once we're rejected. And it's the way we quietly agree to it that creates the toxicity. The way we internalize absence as evidence. I had some deep abandonment wounds, obviously, that I didn't realize. And that would be a pattern in all of the relationships. Even leading up to that point at 19, I'd been in a 2-year relationship before. I knew that level of abandonment, of not feeling like I was worthy enough. And even writing Be the Love, which I wrote for Macmillan in 2022, that was somewhat of a memoir. But still, I think it got me to being 46 years old now and spending time by myself, establishing a new relationship, the last 2 years going through this incredible upheaval in my life. And the thing is, it's, like I said, it's the way we internalize absence as evidence. It's in the way that we step out of ourselves and we call it love. And so it's really important that you examine all of the areas in your life and the way that you abandon yourself. So if I could go back to that version of me, little Sarah Prout, 19 years old, the girl standing in the gallery, pretending that she wasn't scanning the room, pretending that she wasn't waiting, I wouldn't tell her that he should have shown up. I mean, many of you might be reading that going, you bastard, why didn't you show up for Sarah? No. That wasn't the point. I would tell her, little Sarah Prout, that she should have shown up for herself. Because the real work isn't in being chosen, it's in staying with yourself. Staying with yourself in the moments where it would be easier to leave, to disconnect, to numb yourself out, to make someone else responsible for how you feel. And the truth is that self-abandonment doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like standing in a room full of your own brilliance and deciding it isn't enough until someone else confirms it, which is like an ouchie moment, right? What if I'm not good enough? I need other people to validate me to feel okay. And that is so damaging. And so that night didn't define me, but it did show me something that I would spend years and years and years unlearning. That my worth was never meant to be witnessed into existence by someone else. I could cry as I say that. I'm going to say it again. My worth, and I'm going to make this into a quote and I'm going to post it on Instagram. And if this resonates with you, please go and like it. And I'm not saying that just to get your validation, but just so the message of this gets out to as many people as possible. My worth was never meant to be witnessed into existence by someone else. It was always mine to stand in. It was always mine to stand in, even if no one ever walked through that gallery door. And so spending a month in virtual isolation after being a mother for 25 years, as all of this stuff is sorted out behind the scenes, things that I can't go into, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my children and spending more time with my partner, spending time with friends, spending time with family. But most important, spending time with myself and learning to trust this journey, because it is a magnificent one, isn't it? Like, it took me such a long time to unravel my power, my worth, my voice. And if you're on this journey, then I encourage you to do the same thing. Don't be afraid of it. It can be uncomfortable. It could be really uncomfortable, but stay with it. Stay with me and journal, write, transmute your pain into power, transmute your life stories into personal essays, start a Substack, write a book, join me in the Author S Academy. Connect with me if you want to have a one-on-one call with me. I think there's a link on my website to do so if you would like to do that. And I think it's still $111 for 30 minutes. And I'm not sure whether I'm booked out yet, but there's still a few spaces left for April. So if you're listening to this in April and you'd like to connect and you'd like to talk about what you've been through, just to see each other and acknowledge one another for what we've experienced. I've been doing this with a few incredible clients lately. Then I would love to hear from you. So with that being said, thank you so much for being here with me. And until next time, happy manifesting. Bye for now.